Hello there, one and all, and thank you very much for tuning in to episode 518 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise. You are very, very welcome, whether you're watching the live or you're watching the recording. We have several comments already. Ashfaq says, hello again. Hello to you as well. And Spaced Out says, I went in with judgment. Now they are my favorite brand. I really like their aesthetic, and Iris 39 is superb. So we are getting straight into it because clearly you are referring to Labo, which is the subject of one of our mission videos. We like to do these every now and again, don't we? Where I sort of become a glutton for punishment and decide that yes, I can smell and comment on 12 perfumes in one video. We will try and get through them as quickly. Well, actually not as quickly as possible. We will try to take our time, but I will not take up excessive amounts of your time, hopefully. Maciek says, shame Labo discontinued the oud. I didn't know they discontinued it. It was my favorite of the line, very funky with notes of industrial glue. Perfumed by the Sea says, I do have a soft spot for Labo. I still enjoy the experience of going in their shops. Santal 33 will always have my heart. Ralph says, wasn't aware they did discovery sets with a full-size bottle. Very nice concept. I will explain that in a moment. Their prices never fail to make my eyes water, says Thomas. Ashfaq says, there is Creed, then there is Labo. Okay, I have no idea what you mean there. Okay, so why are we doing this video? Well, Labo is a brand that I have tried to cover fairly religiously on this channel. I've mostly managed to stay on top of their new and newish releases. I've managed to also mostly stay on top of their city exclusives. But I've had this set for a while. It's a set that I got myself, and I know somebody, who was it, that said it's discovery set plus 50 mils. What it actually was that the 50 mils didn't come with it, because you can see there's no way 50 mils would have fit in there. What you got was a code to claim your 50 mil, whichever one from the discovery set that you liked the most. That's how they did it, which was a very neat idea, I think. And a little while ago, I was looking through my perfume review index on Persolaise.com. By the way, if you go to it, there are some issues with it at the moment, so please do bear with me. I'm trying to sort them out, but it's going to take a little while. But anyway, a lot of the links on there are fine. A lot of the links are also not working properly. If you need a review on a specific perfume, if you're on the perfume review index and you can see that there is a review of a perfume but the link isn't working, then simply search for that perfume in the search box on Persolaise.com and you should be able to find it. Anyway, I was looking through the perfume review index and I looked at the Labo list and I thought, okay, well, this list is looking quite healthy, but I thought I also know that there are several that I've got in this discovery set that I haven't reviewed. And I thought, well, it might be fun one day to do a whole video where we do a kind of showcase of the ones that are missing from that list. So that is what this video is going to be. I went through the discovery set. I took out all of the ones that have already been reviewed that have an entry on the Persolaise.com review index, and that leaves us with 12. And interestingly, there's one in there that I have talked about lots of times on this channel, but I don't think I've ever actually sort of reviewed it specifically. It doesn't have an entry in the index. So after today's video, it is going to have an entry in the index. Another thing that was completely unplanned is that all but one of the 12 videos that we're going to be talking about today are from 2006, which means that they are part of the original Labo lineup. Some of you will be aware that the brand was founded by two friends. Who were they? I keep forgetting their names. I've got their names here. Fabrice Penot and Eddie, is it Roshi or Roski? They opened a shop in New York in 2006, and they came out with these perfumes, and you know, they had a very kind of specific aesthetic. And then when was it in 2014 or so, they were bought up by Estee Lauder. So they did pretty well. You know, it didn't take them long to be bought up by Estee Lauder. For a little while after the purchase from Estee Lauder, they stayed on board, I believe, as creative directors, but now they don't have anything to do with it. A little bit like Frederic Malle as well, who left the Frederic Malle brand earlier this year, and there is a completely different Estee Lauder appointed creative director there. I suppose in one sense it's not surprising that a lot of the ones I'd never covered before are the originals, because I started looking at the brand and started reviewing them from sort of 2010, 2011 onwards. So we've got 11 from 2006 and 1 from 2015. And I expect you to comment on a lot of these, because I am sure there are many that you know. What are you folks saying? Osmanthus 19 is such a misnomer, says Aperol Spritz. It has zero trace of Osmanthus. That isn't one of the ones here. Very, very, very quickly, for those of you who may not be aware, the idea behind the name of a Labo perfume, so we're going to be looking at one in a moment called Ambrette 19. The idea, sorry, not 19, Ambrette 9. The idea is that the number refers to the number of ingredients in the formula, and the name refers to the most prominent material, or the one that's been used the most, that takes up the greatest proportion of the formula. Now, there's a little bit of an in-joke in the perfume community that if there's a Labo perfume called Iris something or other, you can be pretty sure it's not going to be an Iris perfume. Or if it's called, I don't know, Rose something or other, you can be pretty sure it's not going to be a Rose perfume. I don't know how slavishly, how faithfully they stick to that naming now. But yes, that's the kind of code. That's how it's meant to work. And I think we should make a start, because we have got 12 to go. And I reckon we ought to start with Ambrette 9. Hopefully they're still in the correct order here. I have got pre-sprayed blotters for you as well. That is how good I have been here. Let me do this just to make life a little bit easier for myself. And as I was preparing for this video, I was rather surprised to learn that Ambrette 9 was composed by Michel Almarac, of all people. I mean, they must have had a bit of cash behind them, the two lads, because all of their perfumes have been made by big name established perfumers, and certainly the opening salvo was no exception. The Bergamotte is definitely a Bergamotte, says Thomas. Same goes for the Benzoin or Bonjour. Anyway, this is the Ambrette. Here we go. Ambrette 9, getting us going with our Labo mission. And please help me out with some of these as well. Give me your impressions too, because I haven't got any press releases. I haven't got any material at all. I'm just going to tell you what I think. Perhaps I might just do myself a little bit of a favor as well, and just kind of get some basic notes as we're going along, just to see if I agree with them or not. Here we go. Right, so what do we get here? Oh, Perfume by the Sea says Ambrette 9 is my least favorite, the weakest Labo. Okay, well, we're starting well then. Unexpected sweetness coming through. Now, I was expecting something, I should know better with Labo. I was expecting, what does Spaced Out says? Ambrette 9 was made for ladies with babies in mind. It's soft and cozy. Gavin says it sounds like something some companies would make for babies. It is very fabric softenery. The muskiness is really, really cozy, snuggly, cutesy. It's got a kind of innocent feel to it. This notes list isn't particularly helpful. Ambrette, fruits and citrus fruits. Okay. Oh, but Oris says you guys are selling me on Ambrette 9. There's something also really quite sterile about it. Very, very, very clean. It's on the verge of a well-scented hand sanitizer. Speaking of well-scented hand sanitizers, if you ever go to Muscat, if you go to Oman, and you go to Amouage, because obviously you wouldn't go to Oman without going to Amouage, see if they still do their hand sanitizer. Best smelling hand sanitizer I've ever used. I wish I'd got tons of it, but anyway, I digress. Spaced Out says some people compare Ambrette 9 with Chanel number 18. Really? Okay, I'm not getting any of the kind of irisy rosiness. It's very, very, very streamlined, very fabric softener, but not cheap fabric softener, sort of posh fabric softener. I can completely get the kind of baby reference, the baby powdery sort of reference, and also somehow very Labo. it feels like in the spaceship from 2001, from Stanley Kubrick's 2001, there would be a kind of a leisure room or a nature room, a relaxation room that would smell like this. It's got that slightly otherworldly quality to it. Now, amongst this this array of blotters, let me try to find the pre-sprayed Ambrette. Here we are. A lot of Le Labo perfumes do tend to be linear. I think that is their kind of nod to modernity. I personally am partial to the sense that they do when they go a little bit retro, like their Ylang Ylang, their Myrrh. But anyway, pre-sprayed Ambrette. Okay, so as expected, it's kind of doing similar sort of thing, but maybe it's going a little bit fruitier, almost like a kind of strange cross between berries and papaya. But it is attractive. It is attractive. It's also somehow really not what I've expected from Michel Almarac, but interesting. A tangent in his oeuvre. Okay, I can't dwell for that long on these. Let's go. Gavin, no, Orosiros agrees with Miguel, so I need to find out what Miguel said. Miguel says, Le Labo fragrances in general have a certain sterility to them, in my opinion. Some of them, I mean, Santal 33, do you think that does? I mean, that's still one of my favorites. That's not going to be done today because I have reviewed that over on Persolaise.com. Thomas says, I have to check out their patchouli. I've heard great things about it. Now, that one, funnily enough, is coming up, so stay tuned. Okay, let us keep going in the order in which they are here. Next up is their Bergamotte 22, composed by Daphne Bouget. Now, the Bergamotte, I think, enjoyed quite a lot of success because I believe it became the scent of a lot of products that Le Labo did for hotels. And so that meant, there was a Bergamotte shower gel and body lotion and soaps. And I remember getting my hands on one of those soaps and actually really liking the smell of it. So this is again from 2006. I will tell you which is the one from not 2000. That's not from 2006. That's coming up a little bit later. Bergamotte 22. Yeah, this is actually, has to be said, a convincing bergamot. Gavin says, I think the shops and counters are a great exercise in marketing and appearance. Yes, completely agree. And Lauder have maintained, I think, that consistency there in the look. The Le Labo aesthetic is very, very distinctive, very recognizable. Spaced Out says, Bergamotte 22 needs very hot, sunny weather to fully shine. I agree with you. And actually, I suppose it helps that I first encountered it in a hot country. This is a nicely done bergamot. A lot of so-called bergamots these days have a kind of ersatz quality to them, and they come across as very, very thin. This has got the kind of smokiness in the right place, the lemon feel in the right place, the tea-like element that we associate with bergamot is there in the right place. Something a little bit spicy, a little bit coriandery. Do we have official notes? What can I tell you? Bergamot, petit grain, cedarwood, yes. Grapefruit, I suppose so. Grapefruit, yes, I guess so, actually. Something grapefruity there. Vetiver, vanilla, probably in the base. And now, as I'm smelling it as well, definitely more than a whiff of Mugler's original cologne, the one by Alberto Morillas. Maybe the muskiness. Who is this? I'm sorry, I can't read your handle, but thank you very much for writing. It says Bergamotte 22 definitely smells like bergamot, but sometimes there are surprises. Citron 28 smells actually more like jasmine than jasmine 17 itself. Yes, I would agree. I remember covering Citron. Where is pre-sprayed bergamot? Please make yourself known. There are so many blotters. Oh, here we are. Okay, pre-sprayed Bergamotte 22. Yeah, so as you'd expect, it's gone quieter. The citrusishness is fading away. It's becoming a little bit more about the cedar and the musks. But still, very, very attractive. Okay. Next up, we have Fleur D'Oranger 27. Now, again, during the prep for this video, I thought, oh, this is composed by Françoise Caron, Olivier Crespe's sister, who did, amongst many other things, didn't she do the Hermès Eau d'Orange Verte, which is just a beautiful cologne-like scent. And I thought, oh, okay, an orange blossom from Françoise Caron. So I am excited about this one. I've been very, very good and not smelt the pre-sprayed blotters at all, I promise you. Let's get some... Actually, no, let's not get the notes up just yet. Let's just smell this. How many of you out there know this one? Still a bit of a discussion going on in the live chat about the Labo aesthetic, which, yes, I agree, I think, with pretty much mostly what you're saying there. I got Fleur d'Oranger for a great price this summer. It's gorgeous, says Spaced Out. Okay, high praise indeed. Ooh. Okay, very, very definitely convincingly orange blossom, but maybe... So it's got that indolic feel. It's got that slightly funky, slightly dangerous, just on the verge of mothballs feel, which is what you want from an orange blossom scent. But it's also bright and happy and luminous and sunny, you know, convincingly also composed by somebody who hails from the south of France and can just capture that luminosity. Yeah, nicely done. A nice Neroli note as well. But I wonder, I'm very curious to try the pre-sprayed one of this, because I wonder if there's a kind of tendency, if it's veering towards a bit of cheapness, which is always interesting with orange blossom, because you need to kind of get that mothball note right. And actually, I think part of getting it right involves making it feel just a tiny little bit crass, a little bit cheap, if you see what I mean. Fleur d'Oranger, what can I tell you about it? Orange blossom, petit grain, bergamotte, lemon, and musk. Okay, so not the most exhaustive notes list. Gavin says, are these being smelled alphabetically or in terms of intensity? It could be either, just a coincidence. No, they are being smelt in the order in which they appear in this box. But I'm going to do the most recent one last, so I may just bypass that one when it comes up in the box, just so that we kind of do them chronologically. Although chronologically, as I say, there's 11 from 2006 and 1 from 2015, so there we are. There's a nice kind of sparkling quality. It reminds me a little bit of this year's Neroli Plein Sud from Guerlain, which I loved, one of my favorite perfumes of the year. Really, really love it. Just that optimism and a very sort of similar sense of movement. I think the best orange blossom scents make you picture the wind blowing through the orange trees, the branches, and this one does that. This one goes some way towards doing that. Interesting, though, that you know, if we're to draw a conclusion on the strength of these three perfumes, they very definitely started with a kind of pared down, streamlined aesthetic. Frederic Malle, when they launched, had already been around for 6 years. But his aesthetic was quite different. You know, by that stage, I think he'd already given us Carnal Flower and a lot more Baroque, more layered compositions. And you could almost see this as the sort of the New York punk version of Frederic Malle to some extent. So interesting that they were both bought up by Estee Lauder. What do we have next? Next up is Iris. The Iris 39 by Frank Volkel, one of my favorite perfumers. A lot of people like this one, and I'm actually not all that familiar with it, to my shame. I ought to be. I mean, I ought to be familiar with all of these, really. So come on, I know a lot of you will have a view on this one. Iris 39. They obviously wanted to cover a lot of bases as well, didn't they? Because they opened with a rose, with a patchouli, with an iris, with an orange blossom, etc., etc. Iris 39 is a very purple, moody one, says Spaced Out. Ooh, let's have a sniff. Ah. But definitely shades of Iris Poudre as well from Frederic Malle. Almost like an Iris Poudre pre-funeral Ooh, this is nice. I mean, Frank Volkel, when he's given a budget, does tend to produce some really, really beautiful stuff. Who did Iris Nazarena? Who did Iris Nazarena for Aedis de Venustus? That wasn't Rodrigo. I'm pretty sure that. Please, could somebody just look up who did Iris Nazarena for Aedis de Venustus? Beautiful. Maybe that was Ralph Schwieger. I can't remember. Another kind of Germanic sounding name. Iris 39 is so rooty and... Oh, Schwieger, says Gavin. Thank you very much. Okay. Because I'm getting lots of shades of Iris Nazarena here. It's... I mean, beautiful opening, really, really beautiful opening. You know, there was me saying that they're all kind of streamlined and simple. So this one, yes, it is irisy, but it's also somehow alive, and it doesn't have that kind of gaunt feel that a lot of beautiful iris perfumes have. And what is it in there? Is it something vanillic that is kind of giving it blood? I get what you mean by purple. I mean, I personally don't get purple, but I get what you mean. There is definitely life pumping through here, coursing through here. And shades of something quite retro. Shades of old Guerlains, maybe, in a kind of rosiness. Maybe that's what it is. And maybe actually also quite a bit of Cashmeran. Because it's sort of also making me think of Frederic Malle's Dans tes bras by Maurice Roussel. That very, very, very kind of skin clinging feeling. Lime and ginger in the opening, says Spaced Out. Oh, interesting. Let's see what the official notes are. So Iris 39, violet. Okay, that could be the retro thing. Violet, iris, patchouli, lime, ginger, and musk, ylang ylang, cardamom, civet, and rose. I would put money on there being quite a good dose of Cashmeran in here. This is nicely done. Let us smell the pre-sprayed blotter, because I'm. Have I got a new kind of favorite Le Labo? Right, Iris 39, pre-sprayed. So it's gone a little bit more kind of carroty, woody, earthy, rooty, snuffed candle-y, but that very, very kind of intimate, musky Cashmeran feel is there too. So this is I think Iris, because Iris is often presented as quite a haughty character, funereal, authoritative, haughty, and this is an Iris that somehow manages to be all those things, and yet because it's amongst friends, it lets its hair down and actually shows its fun side, and not just its fun side, but its real chewing every bit of life into its mouth it can side, living life to the full, carpe diem side. Yeah, this is the carpe diem Iris. Gosh, Gavin, I love the fact, I love that you're the self-appointed researcher on this. I do genuinely appreciate what you do, Gavin. Gavin says 11 people on Fragrantica think it smells like Dans tes bras, but 20 people disagree. Which proves what exactly? I don't know. Gavin says, I don't know this, but the note list is very reminiscent of a lot of other perfumes. This is nicely done and almost slightly medicinal. Ooh, I like this one. I do like this one. Okay. Right. Next, we're on to number 5, which means we're not doing too badly. The Jasmin or Jasmin, Jasmin 17, composed by Maurice Roussel. I mean, you know, it's not bad going, starting your brand with a Maurice Roussel. Is it Jasmine-y? We are about to find out. Made it to another live, says Nina. You're very, very welcome. By the way, I should also say at this point, if you're enjoying the video, please give it a thumbs up, because that really, really helps. So now I expect to see that thumbs up number on my screen there go shooting up now. Otherwise, I won't tell you what I think of the... Thank you. It's gone up by 1. Brilliant. That's really great. Okay. Jasmin 17, Maurice Roussel. That Iris is going to take some beating, though. Okay. Oh, gosh, it has shot up. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's very kind. Ooh. a kind of tea-like, quiet, very, very sheer, translucent, limpid jasmine. It really, really makes me think of jasmine tea, almost like a kind of jasmine caught on the breeze. Not at all overly heavy, not overly indolic, not overly kind of gothic or dramatic. This one smells like jasmine tea, says CJ. Well, yeah, there you go. Thank you very much for agreeing. Limpid is genuinely a favorite word for me, says Paige. Okay, great. I shall try to use it more frequently. I mean, a nice take on jasmine, a very, very pleasant take on jasmine. I think I personally like my jasmines more grandiose, more melodramatic. Jasmine infused rice, says Dimitri. Yes, that kind of thing. You know, like if you have jasmine rice, absolutely, that kind of feel. Perhaps could be a little bit thin, but let's see what the official notes are. So orange blossom, yes. Jasmine, musk, neroli, bitter orange. Yeah, that gives you a sense of how it's operating. Sandalwood, vanilla. None of that heaviness coming through. This could be like an Aqua Allegoria jasmine. You know, that kind of sort of relatively simple 2-accord thing put together, not very demanding. Where's pre-sprayed jasmine? Here we go. And Nina says, if jasmine is not a little dirty, I don't want it. Yeah, this one's not that dirty. This one's not very dirty. Anyway, pre-sprayed. It's become more vanillic, sweeter, gentler. It's definitely the jasmine, I think, to go with the Ambrette. You know, so when the babies get together and want to smell all like cutesy babies, they'll either smell of the Ambrette or the jasmine. But nicely done. Very, very nicely done. Okay. At the moment, the iris is winning. The iris is really, really winning. Actually, I had no idea there was such a. I'm going to be watching the development of that one very, very closely. Right, 5 down, 7 to go. Not too bad. Next up, we have the Labdanum. Labdanum 18, also by Maurice Roussel. Now, if memory. Orisira says so far only 2 that I need. Which two? Which 2? You have to share. You have to share. So Labdanum, also by Maurice Roussel. As I was saying, if memory serves, this one is a favorite for a lot of people, I think. Not sure why. Navi Light says, this is a bit of a Musc Ravageur, but simplified, I think. Okay, that would make sense. And Musc Ravageur is obviously the scent that he made for Frederic Malle, which was his take on Shalimar. Apparently, it was the Musc Ravageur was a rejected proposal to Jean-Paul Gaultier for when he was trying to create or release Le Malle, and of course then Le Malle was the Francis Kurkdjian composition. I think they decided that Musc Ravageur was, or what the form, what was then. Oh, what am I trying to say? You know what I'm trying to say. The perfume that eventually became Musc Ravageur, when Maurice Roussel presented it to Jean-Paul Gaultier, apparently they decided it would be too dirty. Anyway, Labdanum. Yes, you're absolutely right. So this is Shalimar Musc Ravageur, a very, very classic amber, not as dirty as Musc Ravageur, but still, quite dirty considering it's a Le Labo. Maybe powderier, gentler. Maurice Roussel does these sorts of things very well. He explored this kind of territory really interestingly as well in Tocade, where he sort of took that kind of dirty musk and put a kind of rosy lipstick note on top. And I'm not sure when was Musc Ravageur one of the original Frederic Malle lineups, which meant that it came out in 2000. So this would have come out 6 years after that. Gavin says Musc Ravageur was a submission for Fragile. Ah, okay. Then perhaps I was misinformed. I always thought it was for what became Le Malle, but you may well be right. Geneviève says Labdanum and Patchouli are my faves from Le Labo, a Labdanum addict. What are the notes for this one? Where is the Labdanum entry? So Labdanum 18, musk, cistus, patchouli, vanilla, castoreum, cinnamon, civet, tonka bean, birch tar. Yeah, you can, and basically a modern Shalimar. But I think in this iteration, sweeter and more powdery. I mean, they're very attractive, nicely done. Where is the pre-sprayed blotter? Here we go. Yeah, as you would expect from a scent like this, from this sort of structure, it just goes right down into the resins, into the balsams, really powdery, lots of benzoin, lots of labdanum, I would imagine. Attractive, but I suppose at this stage in his career, this is probably the kind of thing that Maurice Roussel was able to just make, with his eyes closed. But nicely done, nicely done. Okay. Right. Next is the Neroli 36 from Daphne Bouget, the second one that she did in the 2006 lineup. Gavin says, I met Frederic Malle in the 90s in New York City. He was sent to me by Pierre Bourdon. Hang on, this is a quote. You don't actually, or I told him I had something in my drawer. It was a finalist for Fragile by Jean-Paul Gaultier. Okay, for a second, I thought you were telling us about how you met Frederic Malle in the 90s. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that corroboration, Gavin. I never doubted you. I absolutely didn't. No, I promise I didn't. I did for a minute, but I didn't really. Okay, so this is Neroli 36. We've already had an orange blossom, so it's interesting that they decided to do an orange blossom and a Neroli in the original lineup, but I'm guessing maybe this one is more cologne-like? I don't know. Let us find out. Ooh. Is this going to be our first sort of outright dud? Something a little bit crass here. I mean, Neroli should be all about the most life-affirming notes you can imagine. It should make you should sweep all your worries away. I'm getting glue, and it could be that the sample has turned. You never know. I have had it for a little while. Let's see what the official notes are. Neroli 36. Okay, that explains a lot, because first on the list of notes is calone or kalone, the material that is very often used to make aquatic ozonic scents, and the material that a lot of us detest with a vengeance, with when it is overused. Okay, yes. Right, so I didn't recognize the calone, but now that I'm being told it's there, I'm thinking, yes, no wonder I'm thinking this is coming across as really overly synthetic. Then it goes on to say that there's mandarin, jasmine, orange blossom, vanilla, tonka bean, and rose, but I'm just thinking, why did you decide to do an ozonic aquatic Neroli? Maybe, well, maybe they decided they needed something aquatic ozonic, and they thought that the way to do it would be by kind of making a sort of Neroli-ish cologne aquatic thing. Gavin says orange blossom soapiness with calone could be adding up to something unpleasant. Yeah, well, it kind of is. Let's see what the pre-sprayed blotter is doing, because calone does also settle, or maybe it just fades away. So this is the Neroli. There we are. Yeah, not for me. Not for me, this one. Ooh, really, really kind of, well, just overly synthetic, thin, and it doesn't feel like it's been anywhere near an orange tree. No. Okay, interesting decision actually to make, to do that to the Neroli. Interesting. Okay. Next up, we have Rose 31, composed again by Daphne Bouget. A few people have told me over the years that this is their favorite rose, not just their favorite Labo, but their favorite rose, which is praise indeed. I'm not that familiar with it. If I did smell it once, it's been a long time since I smelt it. And I don't think it particularly stayed with me, but let us see what we think of it now. Here we go. Rose 31, Daphne Bouget, part of the original 2006 lineup. Okay, a kind of sheer light tea rose with a sort of peppery note on top. Fairly naturalistic smelling, but to say that this is your favorite rose, I suppose people who want, I mean, I adore rose perfumes, but I suppose my favorite rose perfumes are the ones that just go all out and try to capture the multifacetedness of rose. So one of my favorite rose perfumes of all time is Guerlain's Naïma. You don't really get a better rose than that, in my opinion. I love Portrait of a Lady from Frédéric Malle. I have a lot of time for Frédéric Malle's, again, Une Rose, which is called Rose Tonnerre, I think now. So if I'm reaching for a rose, something like, is it Lyric? Is it Lyric Man from Amouage? That's the rose. I want so many facets that it just feels as though one nose isn't enough. But then I suppose the flip side of that is that you get a super streamlined, light, I mean, I've been using that word a lot, transparent rose, you know, a kind of Joe Maloney sort of rose that just tries to do away with all of the fussiness. Spaced Out says the idea behind Rose 31 was to make a very spicy, woody, masculine take on the rose note. Fine, but I think Les Indemodables, I suppose, did that, I think, better in Rose de Jamal, because they were able to somehow say, look, here is a rose in all its splendor, and yet we've also made it woody and fresh with the inclusion of the minty note. This one, I think, to some extent diminishes the rose, but you know, this is obviously just me talking. Where's Rose? What can we say about Rose? Cumin. Oh, so we should try it on skin. Cedarwood, Rose Absolute, Gaiac Wood, Musk, Oud, Cistus, Frankincense, and Vetiver. I'm not getting as heavy hitting a thing as that description would suggest I should be getting. Here is pre-sprayed rose. Did we talk about the pre-sprayed orange blossom? Because for some reason that's still here. Well, if we didn't, apologies, but I've got the pre-sprayed orange blossom here, and it is going a little bit into that slightly over cheap mothbally territory. Anyway, pre-sprayed rose. The cumin hits hard for me in Rose 31, says Marie Claude. Interesting. Yeah, it's not grabbing my heart. I can't say. It's just a very sort of fresh, a little bit like Acqua di Parma's Rosa Nobile, but although I suppose that one is quite pink, and this one isn't pink. This one is veering towards sort of peppery woodiness. What's interesting is that even the pre-sprayed blotter, that rose note and the lightness of the rose note are well sustained. It hasn't faded away. So technically, that's quite an accomplishment, I suppose. Ilard says, I found Rose 31 disappointing, was hoping it would be more cumin heavy, just got a pleasant, slightly woody rose. Gavin says it used to be almost a Caron-like scent. Okay, interesting. Brie or Bry says, could be your sample is off because Rose 31 has a good amount of cumin and woods there, but cumin mostly comes out on skin. So perhaps what we will do is maybe we will finish by spraying that on skin just before we end. We have got 4 to go. We've done very, very well, I think. Next up, what have we got here? Okay, next up is the one that I said, you know, I've actually talked about this one lots over the years. I've even put it into my book, that book over there. But I don't think I've ever actually done a review of it. So here we are. This is Patchouli 24, the legendary Patchouli 24, composed by the equally legendary, actually more legendary, Annick Menardo. One of my favorite Labos. I don't ever want to be without this one. I don't ever want to be without this one. I don't ever want to be without Santal 33, but we won't be talking about that here because I have actually reviewed this one. Patchouli 24 is... It's just so unlike any of these others because suddenly, you know, you go from this kind of streamlined, quite luminous, bordering on the sterile territory, and then this thing just like kind of grabs you by the unmentionables, and it's fuzzy and bearded and dark and assertive, and but also at the same time somehow quite sci-fi. So maybe that's the nod to the brand's aesthetic. I remember thinking when I first smelt it, and I think this is what I wrote in the book as well, that this feels like a kind of sci-fi leather, because it is essentially a leather scent. The patchouli is used to create a very, very kind of strong leather note, lots of birch tar in there, probably lots of castoreum. Isn't it very heavy on the birch tar, says Thomas? Yes, but beautifully so, I think. But there is also something about it that makes you think as though this is leather that has been created somewhere on the other side of the asteroid belt. I think it's really, really delicious. One of the best things Annick Manado has done. One of the best things the brand has ever released. Thank goodness they're still making it. It's kind of wicked and carnal, and yet also really, really clean and streamlined at the same time. It's snow and very, very dark fake fur coats and snuggling up into that kind of animalic furriness. It's really, really nicely done. Beautiful, beautiful work, I think, and rightly a very, very big success for the brand. Not a lot to say about the notes. It's just patchouli, birch, styrax, and vanilla. Lagonda says, I have the 30 ml oil. It's wonderful and reminds me of a campfire. Yes, it's definitely got those sorts of things. If you smelt Andy Towers' Lone Star Memories, then you get a sense of how it operates as well. Gavin says the smell of an elegant barbecue sauce. Oh, it's so much more than that, isn't it? Much, much more than that. Okay, and pre-sprayed patchouli. I mean, I know what this smell is like, and it is really all about the dry down patchouli 24. I adore wearing it on fabric as well sometimes, so that when I go out, by the end of the day, it's got this amazing dry down. It's really, really physical, really close to you, and that intermingling of the birch tar, the heat of the birch tar, the smokiness and sweetness of the vanilla, the earthiness of the patchouli. It's just wonderful. Just seriously, seriously wonderful. If I ever get to meet Annick Manado, I've never met her. This will be one of the first things that I thank her for. Absolutely. Okay. So I will put this one aside because that's the 2015 one. Carrying on with the 2006 releases, we have got Vetiver 46, made by Mark Buxton. I hadn't realized that he'd done one for them. He, of course, gave us Comme des Garçons 2 Man. Gorgeous piece of work. What's this? Is it? How do you say your name? Is it Darius, or do you say it like how I say my name? My local Labo sales rep used to call it caramel cowboy ad smell. No, well, with good reason. The Vetiver is a heavy hitter, says Miguel. Oh, Bryce says Vetiver 46 is very similar to 2 Man, and it's the same perfumer. Maciek says Vetiver 36 is a close cousin of Comme des Garçons 2 Man. Okay, so mind you, if you've made a genius scent, you can be forgiven for trying to repeat the same trick one more time. I love Comme des Garçons 2 Man, and one of my all-time favorites. Oh gosh, yes, I see what you mean. Absolutely. But is this one more citrusy maybe, and again more approachable, sweeter? Comme des Garçons 2 Man, even though it is very approachable and very elegant, is also odd. There's a delightful strangeness to it. I think maybe because of that kind of snuffed candle, burnt out matchstick type feel. This one at first sniff doesn't seem to be doing that. And it's almost like a kind of soapiness is replacing the strangeness. What are the notes officially? Frankincense, Labdanum, Absolute, black pepper, cedar, clove, vetiver, bergamot, and vanilla. But it's very nicely done. I will be very curious to see whether the vetiver is prominent in the dry down. We have had this discussion about swampy vetivers on this channel many, many times before, haven't we? And whether the vetivers dominate. Surprisingly linear. Lotta says, have we done Lease 41 yet? That's reviewed on the blog. So go over to persolaise.com because I reviewed that one, I'm pretty sure, when it came out, whenever it was that it came out. We Are Sentient says it's brighter and the dry down is less polished woods. Yes, definitely brighter, isn't it? But not overtly vetiver-like. It feels like the vetiver has been quite cleaned up and it's all kind of, cedar and pencil shavings. Gavin says, I wonder if you're either a leather or a vetiver person. Ooh, if it's either or, then I'm leather. I do love vetivers. It's Madame Persolaise that doesn't like vetivers on me, particularly when they do go all swampy. This is an interesting kind of forms the third vertex of a triangle with like Comme des Garçons 2 man in one point and Frederic Maule's Vetiver Extraordinaire at another point. And I think this is the kind of this is the third point on the triangle because it's got the cleanliness of Vetiver Extraordinaire, but it's got that kind of smoky incense feel of the Comme des Garçons. Nice work. I wasn't familiar with this one at all. Okay. And now we have one final one from 2006 before we do the 2015. And the 2006 one is an Alberto Morillas. It's the Tubereuse. Tubereuse 40. Again, I know a lot of people reckon it's one of their favorite Labos. Now, somebody help me out. Isn't this one a city exclusive? I may be wrong, but I have a feeling that the Tubereuse is a city exclusive. Right, Claire. Right. So Tubereuse 40 from 2006. Ooh. Not an especially heavy-hitting, sort of carnal, flowery, fracas type of Tubereuse. Again, quite clean, not overly indolic, very, very orange blossomy, actually. New York says We Are Sentient. Okay, I had a feeling this was a city exclusive. Thank you. Actually, quite bright. Is this a kind of classic example of a Labo scent not having anything to do with its name? Morillas seems the ideal perfumer for Labo, says Gavin. Well, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean? What makes you say that? What are the notes for this? Because this is really not coming across as... I mean, it's very pleasant, but it's not coming across as particularly tuberosy at all. Where is the tuberose? Tuberose. Here we are. Orange blossom absolute, bergamotte, ambrette seed absolute, cedar, tangerine, Australian sandalwood, tuberose absolute, mimosa, oak moss, petit grain, rose. It's quite fizzy. It's quite bright, but a little bit ersatz. Not quite in the same league as the Neroli. Anyway, pre-sprayed tuberose. Yeah, just something very, very functional about it. Something sort of very laundry detergenty about it. It's not a million miles away from the bergamotte either, but I kind of don't mind that in the bergamotte because I'm expecting a bergamotte, but I sort of do mind it from the tuberose. It reminds me a little bit of the kind of work that Morillas went on to do in his own brand, Mise en Cire, which I'm not a huge fan of. I've yet to come across a Mise en Cire perfume that I like. It seems like he's gone for the sort of most simplistic types of scents for that brand, and this one feels a little bit like that as well. Okay, and then finally from 2015, again, Frank Volkel. This is their black tea, their Thé Noir, black tea 29. I don't know why I'm showing you. That's so tiny anyway. There's no point doing that. Gavin says Morillas equals quite, but I love the fact that you wrote gorillas. Did you mean to write gorillas? Equals quite light but powerful, very radiant, clinical, popular sense to me. Yes, okay, I see what you mean. So this is their tea, and we will finish on this one. I wonder if there are probably still some city exclusives that I haven't done, but I think this addresses the gaps in the Labo reviews very, very well. Spaced Out says, I just got a bottle of Thé Noir yesterday. It's very intoxicating and fit for a night out. Ah, okay. Ooh. I wasn't expecting that, though. It's something actually more like boozy fermented fruit rather than tea. Do you get, this is the fig one, says, yes, that maybe that kind of green, figgy, oozy sort of thing. Let's see if we can find something about it. Thé Noir, Thé Noir, Thé Noir. Oh, nothing is forthcoming at the moment. Oh, here we are. Fig, black tea, bay leaf, cedarwood, musk, vetiver, and bergamot. Perfumed by the Sea says, always had a weird skin reaction to Thé Noir, but recent sample was much better. Genevieve says, I really enjoyed the laundress Labo collaboration, Rose 31. Was that a collaboration then? Laundry detergent was absolutely, so the Rose 31 laundry detergent was absolutely lovely. Ah, interesting. Thé Noir is my favorite Labo, says Mira. Interesting. Lagonda says, Thé Noir is a tea bag left in a mug for way too long. The tea has turned bitter. I can almost taste it. And Nina says, feels austere to me. Yes, I get that. This feels quite haughty, quite sort of standoffish, but it could be the fig. I mean, I sometimes struggle with fig notes. They so quickly to me come across as a little bit too sour, a little bit too astringent, and like kind of not chalk on a chalkboard, but I don't know, some kind of squeaky noise, like over clean rubber or something like that. Okay, but it's I guess that there is room for something like this in the collection. And pre-sprayed black tea, quite figgy. And the bay, if you can imagine like bay leaf and fig being combined, that's quite a sort of camphoraceous green, big, slightly evil combo. Interesting. Fig is hard for me as well, says Orosiros. Okay, so I said I would do the rose on skin just to see if we get some cumin. And I know a lot of you are now going to be writing and saying, but you should have done all of them on skin. Well, I have not sufficient skin for such endeavors. So this is the rose, by the way, on the back of my hand. Not a massive cumin hit. It's just sort of peppery, pleasant, light, translucent, rosy, geranium-y. It's fine, but I must re-smell the iris because that is the one that has really, really grabbed my attention. Ooh. And I think I like the fact that the cedar, definitely, I'm still saying cashmeran. I'm still saying cashmeran here. But the cedar has been allowed to enjoy its kind of, Atlas cedarwood has got a very, very marked tangy note to it. And that comes across really beautifully. I'm going to do some of the iris on the back of my other hand, because that's the one I'm most taken with, actually, from this collection. And it's probably going to be like horrifically overpriced. This is nicely done. Is it? Well, for all I know, it's been discontinued. Perhaps they don't even make it anymore. Okay. Thank you very much for bearing with me. The iris is discontinued, I think, says Tanya. Oh, typical. Of course it is. I'm gonna see if I can track down a bottle somewhere. Thank you very much for putting up with this extended video. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for all the comments. All being well, we will do some video, or at least one video, this coming Sunday, but stay tuned to social media for details of that. Please don't hold me to it. But until then, be good, and I will see you very, very soon. Bye now.